Hello everyone, this is TobeTada with another video of crypto trading. Thanks for checking by and let's dive right in. So it's been a while since I talked with you and I think it was about 2 weeks when we looked at this movement of Bitcoin, and I think it was around this time when Bitcoin was at a low of about 9,300 or now 9,500. And we were looking at the pattern of this movement and trying to predict the some sort of trend for the future. And what we see is that basically since last time the price went basically up, and then we had a correction. And if you remember, or if you want to look at the last video, we talked about this, and I think we can talk about a successful prediction, in that we said that the price would go up again until it would meet this resistance, which is exactly what happened, and then have another correction downward. And the reasoning behind this was, first of all, that we basically said that here the movements in the past, we could basically make these parallel trend lines in the movement, and they were basically pointing upward. So for example, that's evident here and here. And in this latest movement, this peak, so to speak, we see, or we could establish a downward trend, and you can see that this worked out quite nicely. We had a resistance up here and a support down here, and we speculated that this was also the trend of in the terms of the Elliott wave theory of the 1, 2, 3, 4, and we had a fifth movement up here, a fifth wave, and now we're basically seeing this correction. And normally this correction is longer than just a month or two, and so I'm thinking that this is probably going to go down something like this here. So if this was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're probably going to see a 1, sorry, this is not so exact, a 1, 2, and a 3, perhaps a 4 and a 5. I think something like that. Normally the Elliott waves go, the correction phase go in a 1, 2, 3 movement. However, in Bitcoin, I've often seen this to be going in 5s, although this is not always so exact. If you have a look at this, for example, from the bear market of last year, you could say perhaps it was a 1. This is, you could basically choose here 1, 2, then I guess we had some more peaks, so this doesn't work as nice if you look at it this way, but maybe something like that, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you could basically look at the fractals again as 1, 2, 3, or also as a 1, 2, 3 perhaps. So this is, as you can see, it's not exact science, but in general it is quite useful to predict trends. And so I think by establishing these trend lines, we had a pretty good way of predicting the price. And the price, of course, in the mid to short term is definitely pointing downwards. Of course, the very short term, we of course probably have a correction too, maybe from down here or so. But if you're in for the mid to long term, this is probably very likely pointing downwards. And another way of basically making this prediction was by looking at the logarithmic scale here. And if we go to the weekly chart, we're going to get a little bit messy, and I think I don't have data on TradingView and the Binance here right now, but if you look at the pattern going back down here, you basically see these fractals of reoccurring, and the fractal is exactly what you see here. This is basically the movement of Bitcoin, and you can see that also in here. Sorry for this little bit messy demonstration here. And so what we're going to expect, and you can look at the previous data here, is that when Bitcoin goes up again, we're going to have these correction phases. So I'm expecting the price to go downwards, and probably it's going to go down to about, I would say, at least 6,000 to 7,000. That would be my guess. There's other ways, for example, if you look at golden ratio and so on, and you could kind of measure the distance from the peak and the low, and then probably arrive at about a third here. And you can also see that there is a strong support coming from the 6,500 mark area. So my prediction would be they're probably going to have a 1, 2, 3, or a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that, going down to about 7,000, probably 6.5, something like that. Before, of course, the long-term perspective is that this is going to be going back up again. And that is even more evident if you, sorry for not having this chart right now, but I'll show it next time again. If you look at the long-term movement of Bitcoin over the last 4 or 5 years, the idea is that we're basically in the fifth wave of the Bitcoin. So I think that was rather successful. We'll have to see if this turns out to be correct as well. Of course, there's no guaranteed 100% predictions here. It's only probabilities. So if this was helpful, let me know, and see you next time. Bye.